All living organisms are made up of one or more cells. The cell is the fundamental unit of life. Cells are living compartments. Organisms can even exist as single cells. Here we see a single-celled organism called an amoeba eating two single-celled organisms called paramecium. Cells vary in size and shape. The inside of the cell is filled with fluid and various structures called organelles. The word organelle comes from the Latin word meaning little organs. Organelles are small membrane-bound structures that have specific functions within the cell. A subdiscipline of biology called taxonomy categorizes all life forms into three broad domains of life: archaea, bacteria, and eukarya. The domains archaea and bacteria are made up entirely of prokaryotic organisms. The domain eukarya is made up entirely of eukaryotic organisms. Prokaryotic organisms are made up of prokaryotic cells, whereas eukaryotic organisms are made up of eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells have a membrane-bound nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. Eukaryotic cells are larger and more complex than prokaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells do not have a membrane-bound nucleus and do not have membrane-bound organelles. They are smaller and simpler than eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells have DNA that is within their membrane-bound nucleus. Their DNA is packaged into multiple linear chromosomes. Prokaryotic cells do not have a membrane-bound nucleus, but they do contain DNA. Their DNA is packaged into one single circular chromosome. Eukaryotic cells undergo cellular division using a process called mitosis. Mitosis is used in eukaryotes for growth of an organism or to replace old, worn-out cells. Meiosis is used in eukaryotes to create new, genetically diverse organisms through the process of sexual reproduction. Prokaryotic cells undergo cellular division using the process of binary fission. Binary fission is used for the reproduction of the entire organism. Binary fission creates two daughter cells, which are genetic clones of the parent cell. This is a form of asexual reproduction. Prokaryotic organisms include bacteria and bacteria-like organisms. Eukaryotic cells include both plant and animal cells. Let's look at the structures and organelles of the animal cell. The cell is surrounded by the cell membrane. The cell membrane is a little like the skin is for our own bodies. The inside and outside of the cell is separated by the cell membrane or plasma membrane. Contents that are outside of the cell are considered extracellular. Contents inside the cell are considered intracellular. The cell membrane is selectively permeable, allowing for only certain substances to pass through. In this way, it regulates what goes in and what comes out of the cell. The nucleus is often thought of as the brain of the cell. The nucleus is the command center of the cell. It controls cellular growth and cellular reproduction. The nucleus contains the hereditary or genetic information. This is your DNA. In eukaryotic cells, DNA is packaged into multiple linear chromosomes. The nucleus is the most prominent structure within the cell and usually can be easily distinguished using a microscope. The cytosol is also called the intracellular fluid because it is simply the fluid inside of the cell. But this does not include the fluid that is inside of the nucleus, which is called the nucleoplasm. The cytosol contains ions and enzymes. The cytoplasm includes everything inside of the cell, yet external to the nucleus. The cytoplasm includes the cytosol, which is the intracellular fluid, and the cytoplasmic organelles. The nucleolus lies inside of the nucleus of the cell and sometimes appears as a darkened spot inside the nucleus in cell sections treated with a nuclear stain. The function of the nucleolus is to make ribosomes. After the ribosome is made in the nucleolus, it leaves the nucleus. Some ribosomes will end up as free ribosomes that remain unattached in the cytosol. Other ribosomes will attach themselves to the nearby rough endoplasmic reticulum, or rough ER, where they will function as the sites of protein synthesis. Free ribosomes will function to make soluble proteins that will function within the cytosol. Ribosomes that are attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum will make proteins that will become part of the cell membrane or that will be exported out of the cell. The endoplasmic reticulum is a network of tubes and compartments next to the nucleus. There are two types of endoplasmic reticulum, the smooth ER and the rough ER. The rough ER appears rough due to the presence of ribosomes. The rough ER functions in the process of assembling proteins. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum appears smooth because it does not contain ribosomes. The function of the smooth ER is to make hormones and lipids. The Golgi body, or Golgi apparatus, can be thought of as the post office of the cell. The proteins that are made at ribosomes, which are located at the rough endoplasmic reticulum, will travel to the Golgi body. Once a protein arrives at the Golgi body will modify, package, and ship out the protein to one of various possible locations. The mitochondria are considered the engines of the cell. The mitochondria function to make energy in the form of ATP for the cell. ATP is generated in the mitochondria through a process called cellular respiration. The lysosomes can be thought of as the stomach or recycling centers of the cell. Lysosomes are spherical membranous compartments that contain digestive enzymes like a demolition crew. The word lyse means to cut, and the word soma means body. So lysosome literally means the body that cuts. The function of the lysosomes are to digest ingested bacteria, viruses, and toxins, to degrade non-functional organelles, to break down glycogen and release thyroid hormone, and to break down non-useful tissue. Peroxisomes function to detoxify the cell from harmful or toxic substances. They contain enzymes like oxidases and catalases. Oxidases and catalases break down long chains of fatty acids and neutralize dangerous free radicals, as well as break down poisons. Our cells also contain a cytoskeleton, which functions sort of like the skeleton does in our bodies. The cytoskeleton is a web-like network of interlinking proteins that adds structural support to the cell and gives shape to the cell. It also anchors cytoplasmic organelles and facilitates movement. The cytoskeleton also includes microtubules and centrosomes. The centrosome is considered the main microtubule organizing center of the cell, and the centrosome plays a major role in cellular division. The microtubules are proteins composed of tubulin that radiate outward from the centrosome. Plant cells and animal cells are very similar because they are both eukaryotic cells. Plant cells have a lot of the same organelles as animal cells do. Plant cells also have a few additional organelles that animal cells do not have. These are the cell wall, the chloroplasts, and the vacuoles. The cell wall surrounds the plasma membrane. It functions in support, rigidity, and protection for the cell. It is composed of the complex carbohydrate cellulose. It is found in plant cells, but not animal cells. The central vacuole is a large fluid-filled organelle found in plant cells. The fluid inside of the vacuole functions to hold materials and waste products of the cell. It also functions to maintain the proper pressure or turgor pressure within the plant that allows the plant to stand up against gravity. Chloroplasts are specialized organelles that allow for photosynthesis to take place. Chloroplasts are found in plant cells, but not in animal cells. The chloroplast is able to carry out photosynthesis for the cell because it has a chemical called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a photosynthetic pigment that converts energy from the sun into sugars that can then be used to make energy for the plant in the form of ATP. Thank you for watching.